It's 22 hours GMT here in Accra. Hello and welcome to News at 10, our last bulletin for the day. We're broadcasting live from the News Hub here at Adisawe Kanda. And now let's take a look at the major news summaries for the day. The Accra High Court has placed an interim injunction on all Ghana Football Association GFA official activities. The GFA has become an instrument for self-aggrandizement by people who run it to make themselves rich. These were the arguments advanced by the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, Gloria Ekufo, to support her plea for an interlocutory injunction on the officials of GFA. The Minister of Health, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, says he'll sanction and deal ruthlessly with any hospital or health practitioners who refer emergency cases to other hospitals in the name of no bed. He warned directors of various hospitals in the country to adopt measures to end the menace. He was speaking at the maiden edition of the Maternal Child Health and Nutrition Conference 2018 in Accra. Meanwhile, a grieving wife and angry son have got a nation discussing again the deteriorating health service system. But they're not only going to mourn and rant, they will take legal action if needs be over a system that failed them miserably when they needed it most. And on the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump says his historic talks with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un that ended in a joint agreement were tremendous. The signed document includes a pledge from Mr. Kim to rid the Korean peninsula of nuclear weapons. Right, those were our major news highlights. Remember, you can hear us live on 3FM 92.7. We're also streaming on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. Up next is the big one. Now, thanks to a social media post a few hours after his father's death, a grieving wife and angry son have got the nation discussing again the deteriorating health service system. But they're not only going to mourn and rant, they tell me they'll take legal action if needs be over the system that failed them miserably when they needed it most. Johnny Hughes spoke to the wife and son of the late Prince Anthony Opoku Echampong, the 70-year-old man who was refused a hospital bed from 7 hospitals and died.
Her pot with which she fetches water to quench her thirst has been broken. Her backbone is being damaged. The mighty tree under which she seeks shade is being cut off, and it is because of a system that is non-functional. But Mami, Pacho Kafra, ni Yako, shedding. When you fi na ushe sese senior doctor for ni nurse for any medical system senior omoye juma any
sese ye doctors ni ye nurse for ni omomwa ye kra omomwa omano kra bibia.
Currently, our doctors and nurses are not helpful to the nation at all. We blame government, but the problem is really us.
Enti yanya na yesa yo man musuma kantam se mo beji nipa nkwa Mobaji ni pankwa, mobaji life. Na fedi ni pe wu na ewu. Onye wi yo.
My mom had cried and cried and cried on her knees. She had to go back into the car because there was nothing she could also do at the moment. And so she went to sit by my dad again. And all I could hear is say that, Kwame, papa home na eba for mo. Eba for mo. Eba afemin tibio mo. She had then put her left ear on my dad's chest. So I rushed into the car, put my hand on his, to test his pulse, and it wasn't pumping. So I went back to the doctor and said that my dad's pulse is not pumping. Please, check up on him for me. That was when he put the device in his ear and put it on his chest, shook his head, opened his right eye, and said he was dead. And all through these hospitals, there's no bed, and not even a paracetamol was administered. It's sad. I wrote a write-up, pasted it on my wall on Facebook, because that was my next resort. I wrote it at 5:45 a.m. Posted it. 2 hours later to 3 hours, I checked my Facebook and I realized that about 500 to 700 comments had come just within that short time. About 85% of the people who commented on that post were all saying that this has happened to me, this has happened to my mom, this has happened to my uncle. A lot of them were saying that similar things had happened to them. So the question was, so how long will this keep happening? This is criminal in the sense that negligence, medical negligence, is an act of crime.
And the Speaker of Parliament has directed the Joint Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, as well as the Health Committee, to look into the issues that led to the death of the 70-year-old man after he was turned away by 6 hospitals under the excuse of no bed. The committee is to report back to the House in 2 weeks.
Members of Parliament want the no-bed syndrome to be considered more of a national security threat than a public health concern. MP for the Lejokuku constituency, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, drew the attention of the House to the issue of no bed in most hospitals in the country. He alluded to the recent incident that led to the death of a 70-year-old Prince Anthony Opokwe Champon after he was refused medical care at 6 hospitals in Accra.
Right, Honourable Speaker, this no-bed syndrome is not only a public health issue, it is a national security matter. This House is representative of the nation enough and legally empowered adequately to go into this matter and lead the way in finding a potent policy to address this no-bed problem.
MP for Dafiama Busi Isa, Dr. Sebastian Sandare, blamed the situation on systemic failure, questioning why facilities such as the University of Ghana Medical Center and others remained dormant.
The University of Ghana Medical Center, a facility that will add about 900 beds, we still are not even sure when that facility will operate. Plus 5 polyclinics and other health facilities that were initiated by former president. Let's come together and say that enough is enough.
Other members were worried at the trend.
He went to Kwalibu, which is a teaching hospital. He went to Trust Hospital, a quasi-government facility. He went to the police hospital, a security medical center where ordinarily we all expect that their work ethic will be above board. And he finally went to Lekman, which is a district hospital in the hierarchy. Mr. Speaker, what this tells us is that this situation is deep-seated. It therefore requires a holistic and, if you like, a more encompassing way to solve the problem.
Parliament itself must admit some weakness. We are not interested in policing the allocation of resources. All we do is we come here 2-3 minutes, motion move, motion seconded, the House approved. What have you approved? Do you follow up to see whether the monies we have so approved is used for the intended purpose? Are we able to isolate expenditure that is related to compensation against expenditure to accommodation, against expenditure to facilities? These beds are facilities. Sometimes we are even told that a lift at the hospital is not working. Lift. So how do you expect a patient in critical care to be able to be taken care of?
Deputy Attorney General shared a personal experience of how he lost his wife in 2016 after he roamed for 2 hours owing to the no-bed situation.
Mr. Speaker, personally, when it happened, I went into coma and I woke up in a luxury room where there were 2 beds surrounded by nurses. What it only tells us is that in most of these cases, they will look at your face, perhaps your nose, and maybe your name, and all that, and decide whether or not to admit. Because I was very sure, and beyond a shred of doubt, that those who told me no bed, if their relatives had come at that moment, they would have found a bed for them.
MP for Ayawaso West Wuogon Emmanuel Ejako wants the Dental and Medical Council to investigate the matter. The Speaker then referred the matter to the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs as well as the Health Committee.
The Minister of Health, Kwekwajima Menu, says he'll sanction and deal ruthlessly with any hospital or health practitioner who refers emergency cases to other hospitals in the name of no bed. He warned directors of various hospitals in the country to adopt measures to end the menace. He was speaking at the maiden edition of the Maternal Child Health and Nutrition Conference 2018 in Accra.
It is my wish that the no-bed syndrome that is currently becoming something that will not go away every morning will soon cease. And I have, at various meetings and other fora, intimated that we're looking for to create a health intelligence unit to sit either in the ministry or somewhere else to be monitoring things that are going on in some of our facilities. We are hearing in the ministry that beds are for sale in Kolebu. And when I got that information, I was thinking that we were short of beds and people were selling beds to people in Kolebu. Not knowing that it is the way we are describing the situation where when you put down money, you get a bed. We are investigating that. And anybody caught in this respect will be dealt with according to the laws and the sanctions regimes that we have in our service delivery window. We are not joking on this.
You're also watching and listening to News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Adisawe Kanda in Accra and streaming on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, the Inter-Party Coalition for National Sovereignty has described the cost for the registration and issuance of the national ID, also known as Ghana card, as outrageous. In a statement signed by the coalition spokesperson and chairman of the PNC, Bernard Mona, the group noted it has adopted a common stance on the Ghana card issuance and endorsed the position taken by both the minority in parliament and the leader of the APC, Hassan Ayariga. The coalition also wants the National Identification Authority, NIA, to review the criteria for registration. The cost of $1.2 billion for the project is a blatant breach of procurement procedures, according to the statement, and identity requirements for the registration are restrictive and will disenfranchise millions of Ghanaian citizens, according to the statement. Pretty shortly, we'll be speaking to the spokesperson for the group, Bernard Mona. But let's go to Parliament, where the Executive Secretary for the NIA, Professor Ken Atefa, says the voter's ID card does not necessarily guarantee the proof of one's citizenship. He maintains the birth certificate and passport are more credible documents to prove one's citizenship. He was responding to questions when he appeared before Parliament.
ID card is issued to Ghanaians or persons. It's issued to persons 18 years and above of sound mind who intend to exercise their right to vote and present themselves as Ghanaians wanting to be registered for that purpose, 18 years and above. They present themselves as Ghanaians, they want to vote, they are registered and issued with the ID cards. The National Health Insurance Card has the same. You present yourself, you are registered for a sector-specific purpose. The law that this Honorable House has passed is that the birth certificate and a valid passport shall be the only documents considered as valid proof of citizenship as a Ghanaian.
Right, Bernard Mona is joining me in the studio now. He's chairman of the PNC and also spokesperson for the group. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much. So you say that there were procurement breaches in the NI. Can you tell us about that?
Quickly, but before I respond to you, let me say good evening to you. And I was just listening to the pathetic story of the 70-year-old man who had to be transported from about 6 different hospitals until he finally met his death at the 7th hospital. This is sordid, this is bad. I don't think that as a nation we should sit down and tolerate such, particularly when the minister himself admits that there are situations where you go to the hospital and you are told that beds are sold. It is only on the basis of who has money at that particular moment that can get a bed. And if you don't get a bed, you will not get
I can imagine that. Our condolences to the family.
It is terrible. And I think that it's important that all of us, including you, should launch a skating attack on the system. Particularly so when we do know that most of our executives do not get medical attention here. Even if they are having to cough, they are quickly running outside the shores of this country to go and seek superior medical care. It is the reason for which we are having these difficulties. I think that it will be important for Mr. President to order that all his appointees must undergo their medical checkups and routine checkups in this country. That way will ensure that the facilities are working to ensure that they accommodate all of us and our health needs.
Mr. Mona, let's just quickly come back to this issue of the NIA. Your view is that, your group's view is that there were procurement breaches. I want you to tell us what these breaches were.
How many companies tendered for this? When was the procurement or the tender opened? Which companies tendered for it? What is the criteria for selecting the one that has been selected as opposed to the Kennedy Ajapong 50 million company that he brought from India?
But these are questions. They are not necessarily breaches.
I'm saying that there was no opening of tender in the first place. There was no opening of tender. A company was just picked up and said, come and do this job.
Is that what was done?
That is what was done. That is what was done. So there is no economic feasibility, there is no value for money judgment in this. You just pick a company and they tell you how much they are going to charge and you go through the processes and award contract to that company. You have not measured that with the performance and skills of other companies. As Kennedy Ajapong was heard speaking loudly about it, he brought a company.
But you do rightly know that sole sourcing is not necessarily illegal.
I'm saying that
that has been abused.
There are circumstances under which sole sourcing is permitted. This is something that was started under President Kufuor, continued under President Mills, under John Mahama, and now Akufo-Addo. If there was urgency for it to be implemented, that it has to go through sole sourcing, I'm sure that they would have done.
You think there was no urgency?
There is no urgency. There is no.
I disagree with you because the national ID is critical in capturing data of citizens, isn't it? And how is it that you might think that there was no urgency?
The national ID is not even as critical as capturing data as is it with the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, where workers, Ghanaian workers, can be located. You do know that. So it is important for you to note that, look, in trying to speed up these processes, you must not necessarily deliberately infringe upon the procurement laws of this country simply because
whilst you think that there were procurement breaches,
that is one component.
The other component is cost. I like us to put it in perspective.
The other component is the huge cost. And if you look at this horse...
And huge in comparison to which one?
So if you add the cost of the birth certificate, plus that of the national passport, let's take that the national passport is, if you want an express one, you pay 100 cedis for it. Otherwise, you pay 50 cedis for the regular passport. That's the issuance of the regular. You pay 50 cedis for a birth certificate. In all, it comes to 100 or 150. The national ID and the individual costs come to $45 per issue. convert $45 to cedis and tell me that it is not getting to 200 Ghana cedis. So taking your birth cert and adding national passport is far less.
So really, what are you suggesting?
So we are suggesting that either they have padded this particular thing to increase and inflate the bill. And if you look at even the components, maintenance and administration, the figures that have been put there will tell you that...
You're also not considering the fact that the NIA, the national identification, the cards which were proposed from the time Kufuor up to today are different systems.
And that
altogether.
will tell you
and that there is an upgrade of this one, which really, in terms of how biometric data systems capture work, this should come more expensive than
I
others.
thought that in the modern era, we have better ways of managing all our information at very low cost. So from the days that we used to use the big phone to the current time that your phone cannot even be seen, and yet it can perform magical functions, including being your office, where you don't need to go into an internet cafe to do any work again. Now you can do all that on your phone. It should tell us that, look, when it comes to information communication technology,
there are more cost-effective ways of
more
doing
cost-effective. There are even better ways of achieving the results at minimal cost.
Right.
So for the NIA to jump into such a humongous cost figures is very, very dangerous. Above all, look at the restrictive documentations that will allow you.
But is that restrictive?
Birth certificate.
I mean, birth certificate, passports as requirements of citizenship.
How many Ghanaians have the passports?
So you
2 million Ghanaians out of how many people? And we are talking about all Ghanaians. 2 million people are said to have
But birth certificates are basic, and every child born in Ghana who is a citizen should have a birth certificate.
Provided you are not born in Sankana. If you are born in Sankana, it's not likely that you get a birth certificate. And I'm sure that there are many communities beyond Sankana that you will not be able to ascertain this. But if I have a voter ID card, if I have a driving license...
But having a voter ID card doesn't necessarily confer citizenship on you,
and that is
including your driving license.
That is what you use as a basic document, source document, to enable you enlist as a Ghanaian.
Mr. Mona,
why will they deny us all this?
Thank you very much. Bernard Mona is chairman of the PNC and speaks for the group which is raising concerns about the national identification cards, the Ghana card. Let's move away to some other stories. The Ghana Tourism Authority has closed down the La Beach Resort in Accra. The temporary closure is a result of unsanitary conditions at the beach.
The Ghana Tourism Authority, together with the Environmental Protection Agency on Tuesday, embarked on a special exercise to curb unsanitary conditions at some beaches. The team, led by the CEO of the GTA, Akwesi Ajman, first visited the kitchen, bar and washrooms of receptive facilities at the beach resort. On the outside, the beach looked clean, probably due to the fact that most beaches do not attract patrons on Tuesdays. However, the washrooms and kitchens and the backyard of most facilities revealed some unsanitary conditions which both the EPA and the GTA was not happy with.
Walking through the facility, you realize that generally sanitary conditions are bad. You walk to a washroom, they are not cleaning it. Some of the seats even don't have a cover. And the way they've kept the whole place, it leaves much to be desired.
Based on these observations, the Ghana Tourism Authority has closed down the entire facility. Management of the facility have 48 hours to engage the GTA to find the best way possible to resolve the matter.
I've said it to the management team. Our mandate is very simple. We come in there, we close it. We have told them, evacuate everybody for there. It's not for us to go around and tell people to move. The place is closed. If they operate, even when they know that there's a notice of closure, then they fall foul of the law, and the law will deal with them.
It was discovered during the inspection that about 8 facilities did not even have the requisite license to operate. The CEO of GTA hinted they would soon descend on such facilities. Manager of the facility agreed to the closure.
Yes, you agree with them. There are a few things that we need to rectify. But if I say it's insanitary or the place is too bad, I think that's no mean of word I have to use.
The closure is in line with the Accommodation and Catering Enterprises Regulation Law 1979.
On that rather insanitary note and temporary closure of La Beach Resort, we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for staying with us. Up next is Sports Unlimited. There is more news at 3news.com. Good night.